Okay, all praises be to the Most High, AHAYAH, in the name of Yeshaya. We started off this particular class with, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one," which is a credo from the ancient Hebrews that we would give every Sabbath from the synagogues, all right, and from our places of learning. We would say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one." Now, why that credo is important is because that credo in itself embodies the true living God, the Father of all gods, which leads us into our particular lesson here on the Sabbath. Now, of course, I had the class initially broken down into fragments, in which I could teach more than one thing today. But what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into our primary lesson. And if there's time, we'll cover the other areas. Now, this is on the hinge or on the back of our radio show we had this past Wednesday. Okay. Now, for those who witnessed or listened to our blog talk radio, Gathered of Christ, you know that we invited on a few brothers who are prominent within the Black consciousness movement. Brothers like Polite and brothers like Shaka Amos. And these particular brothers and Cyanetta from the House of Consciousness, we invited them on our blog talk radio show in a prelude to a debate that's going to happen between Elder Gabar, Yasha Allah of the Gathering of Christ Church in New York, and those particular brothers from the Black Consciousness movement. Now, I invited them on for an entirely different reason. Okay, I wanted them on not to debate them, not to see who is bringing forth more knowledge, but to more so understand them. So I noticed that when it comes down to these particular discourses between Israelites or those that believe in the Bible, Christians even, and those in the Black consciousness movement, the Bible is on trial, in which the whole conversation is about the credibility of the Bible. So therefore, just take off that. Therefore, what I did was make a proclamation that let's hear them in earnest. Maybe they have something outside of the Bible that we don't understand. Maybe the disconnect because the Bible is the point of argument. Maybe it's ignorant on our side not to hear what they have to bring forth, knowing that we primarily deal with the Bible alone. So I opened a dialogue in which they can actually in earnest show us the light, show us what was right. And I did less talking than everyone on the show because I really wanted to hear their direction. Now, for those who didn't have an opportunity to listen to the show on Blog Talk Radio, I posed a few questions. The first question I posed is that there's been great empires chronologized within society, from ancient Egypt or Kemet, all the way to the Persian Empire, to the Greek-Roman Empire, up into our current day civilization, superpower, which we know is called America. Now, of course, our people, which is black people, have played a prominent part in all these empires, serving in these empires. So the first question I asked was there any place outside the Bible that they can chronologize with the source to show us these empires foretold and our plight within them? The answer was vague to none, which means there was no answer. They could not tell us, according to their historical sources, the plight of our people from one empire to the next. And see, that's a key point. I'm going to address that in a moment. The second thing I ask, in good earnest, because maybe they have some knowledge outside the Bible that can enlighten us, was the people from the slave ships, the people that serve captivity throughout the four corners of the earth and that are scattered, whom the majority of the earth called black people. Who are we? What is our origin? What is our primal origin? And of course, no answer. Ambiguous conversation leading to total confusion without an answer. The final question we left for last, which was the most important question: who is God? Who is your God? And from what source should we look to do the research and study on your God and what please your God? Show us the source that's beyond the Bible or that was before the Bible that tells us how to serve the living God and who is your God. And of course, it came to the same place. Total ambiguity, to a point where one brother just said right out his wife is his God. I'm like, okay, who's the primal God? Isis, Osiris, all these African gods, how did they come into existence? One brother came straight out and said, well, listen, it's going to take some level of faith to a degree because it's written in mythology. And the only source that we can draw from is the Greeks. Interesting. Greek mythology. So here it is. You tell us that we shouldn't follow the Bible because it's a white man's book, but you get your source from the Greek mythologists. Interesting. So, you know what I found when I quantified and actually re-listened to that broadcast? Is that these so-called black consciousness people that believe in Egyptology need the Bible more than us. Why? Because if there's no debate on the Bible, there's really no conversation. So their whole religion is based off of trying to prove that the Bible is not credible, when the Bible can answer all these questions I pose to them. The Bible can answer who is the true living God without ambiguity. And it don't take 30 minutes in a circular conversation to figure it out. The Bible can also answer who are the black people that went in cargo slave ships and the reason for their demise. Our people. The Bible can also explain all empires, from the Egyptian empire, from the Persian Babylonian empire, all the way up into the Greek and Roman empire to modern day America, and explain the reason for their existence. I need y'all to examine this for a moment. They would rather deal in a place of ambiguity and uncertainty than to admit the Bible is correct. So even where they stand and their confusion is also written in the Bible. But the key point of why they don't want to deal with it is because it exposes their sin. It exposes their weaknesses. Yet they would like to be revered as God with no knowledge and operate with total foolishness. We gave them an opportunity to talk. But this is not just a teaching on them. This teaching today will expose the whole world for what they are. Because it's not just the Egyptologists that are going against the Bible, the book of the Hebrews. It's all the nations. All of their gods are against the God of the Hebrews. So it's no marvel that our people follow it, because these people that are against the Bible are following the gods of the other nations. They're following the will of those who've enslaved them and deny the only book which can set them free. So it's not about an argument with them anymore. They had a chance to bring the truth. And I'm going to say this with anyone that come to try to dispute the Bible in a pretext to have you question your foundation. Don't even go there with them going forward. What you do is say, listen, if the Bible is not the way, you show me the way. And if you can't show me the way, shut up. Period. You're going to tell me to leave my God of the Bible, but yet you can't identify yours? You're going to tell me to leave the Bible that tells us why we're in this condition, but yet you cannot show, based on your history and research, where we come from and why we came to such a demise? You are a problem. That's what you are. So, we're going to answer the questions they couldn't. And you tell me what you should follow. And we're going to use the Bible. And let alone, keep in mind, brothers and sisters, another thing I found for those who would like to get everyone out of the Bible. These people deny the Bible not because they've read it. Okay? Not because they've read it. And they try to claim that there's information that predates the Bible. So what? So what? Let me tell you, the information of the tree of good and evil was in the beginning with Adam. That predates the Bible. But should I follow Kabbalism? Should I follow Satanism because Satan fell before the Bible was compiled? So that argument is futile. Evil was here since the beginning. And there's records of evil before the beginning. Should I follow it because it came before the Bible? See, but we don't relegate ourselves to just the information within the Bible. We understand the Bible is just the information that was canonized and authorized to be read in certain circles today. We respect all the records of the Hebrews because that's who we are. We're from the children of Eba. Hebrew comes from the word Eba, which led to Peleg, which led all the way down to the children of Israel. That language also denotes a connection through bloodline. And that's what they are ignoring. So, let's go. Who is the Most High God? Right? Using the Bible, let's go to Psalms, the 19th chapter, and the first verse.
The book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse 1. The heavens declare the glory of God.
The heavens declare the glory of the Most High. Which means, when I look up in the heavens, I'm not going to look at the stars and reverence them. I'm not going to look at the sun and reverence it. I'm not going to look at the moon and reverence it. Why? It's going to break it down for you. Read it.
The heavens declare the glory of God.
The heavens declare the glory of God, which means if I can respect the things which we can see and reverence them as gods, should I not honor the God who made them? Should I not seek him out? Okay. Who was before the stars? We're just beholding his glory when we look in the sky. Read.
Verse 2, Salakia, the rest of verse 1.
Come on.
And the firmament showeth his handiwork.
The firmament, when we look outside into the heavens, it shows our God handiwork. So I'm not going to revere any fallen angel or any spirit that's a product of this God. That's why I asked the brothers, when did Osiris and Horus, when did Isis come into existence? Because we all know that these are lesser gods reverenced by the Gentile nations, mainly the Egyptians. Lesser gods, the fallen gods. Finish reading.
Verse 2. Day unto day uttereth speech.
Day unto day utter speech, which means the Most High is speaking through his creation every day. But our people cannot perceive. They don't understand. Read.
And night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard.
There's no voice or language in which the Most High's speech is not heard. It says night by night because there's a communication from the constellations written in what the Bible calls the heavenly tables. So when you look outside at night, there's a message from night to night that most cannot perceive. Because only the nations are dismayed at them, which means you can't even understand what's in the heavens if you don't understand the Bible. I'm going to go there in a moment. Read.
Verse 4.
Come on.
Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he hath set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber.
So the Most High set forth the sun that's revered in Gentile pagan teachings. Read.
and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it. And there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. The law of the Lord.
The law of the Most High God, read.
Is perfect.
Is what?
Is perfect.
Is perfect, which means the sun does exactly what he tells it to do. The stars do exactly what he tells them to do. The moon does exactly what he tells them to do. The law that come forth from the heavenly realm is perfect. I'm speaking of the God of the Hebrews here. Read.
The law of the Lord is perfect.
Come on.
Converting the soul.
Converting the soul.
The testimony of the Lord is sure.
The testimony of the Most High is sure, which means if you ask us these same questions that I've posed, they're sure. We can answer all these questions with confidence, without ambiguity. Because what comes from the Most High, his law, his commands are sure. Right? Come on.
Making wise the simple.
Making wise the simple. So I'm going to tell you, you don't have to be a PhD to understand this. The word of the Most High and his law gives wisdom to the simple. If we can at first acknowledge the maker, because from him knowledge abradeth not. And see, and that's why the simple stays simple in this earth. Because they don't want to acknowledge the God of all gods. Read.
Verse 8.
Come on.
The statutes of the Most High are right.
The statutes of the Most High are right, because with this command and order also comes order on how to operate within this earth. How to keep our vessels right. How to stay on the narrow, the righteous and narrow path. That's key. Read.
Rejoicing the heart, the commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes.
Read.
Verse 9. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever.
The fear of the Lord is what?
Clean.
Clean.
Enduring forever.
Because to fear the Most High is the beginning of wisdom. And that's how you live a clean life. By following the law, statutes, and commandments written in the Hebrew records. Read.
The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweet also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned.
By them is the servant of the Most High warned. So the message on how to actually operate right and know right from wrong and to do what's right is linked to the law of the Most High, which is contained in the book. Now, I asked these questions for a reason the other night. If you don't understand these primary questions, these primary key components of life and understanding, you're in no position to direct or teach anyone. If you don't understand where you are, who you are, where you come from, who your God is, and what fundamental information we should actually understand. And I'm going to go there in a moment because it's deep when some of these guys are on the other end of having to answer questions to validate their education, to validate their point. They so busy arguing our book. They lost the fact that there's no fundamental foundation in what they believe. And hopefully that particular radio broadcast we had the other night will be a segue into them actually looking for those answers and trying to find those answers. That's what I hope. What verse are you at there?
This is verse 11.
Come on.
Moreover, by them is thy servant warned.
Let's go back to who's our God. Let's get a little bit more clear on this. Because we are the children of Israel who came out of ancient Egypt, or what they call ancient Kemet. We are the people that served in Egypt. Okay? Now, research then came out already through the book of Jasher and other Hebrew information that we weren't in Egypt for 400 years. We were afflicted by them off and on for that period of time in our interactions with them. But we were in Egypt almost half that time. Let's make that clear. But nonetheless, we did come out of Egypt with great substance and went into the land of Canaan. That can be proven. But who is our God? On our Exodus, right before our Exodus, the Most High met Moshe, who they call Moshe or Moses. The Most High brought him to the mount and gave him a command. So when I ask, who's your God? We intend to get an answer because the Bible tells us who is ours. Okay, let's go there. Let's go to Exodus, the 3rd chapter.
The book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse 1.
Let's go.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burnt with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Let's go straight to the 13th verse when Moses asked, who is he?
Verse 13. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel,
When I come unto the children of Israel, read.
and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers have sent me unto you.
Come on.
And they shall say to me, What is his name?
What is his name?
What shall I say unto them?
So that if someone come to me and ask me, well, who's your God? It doesn't take a 30-minute dissertation to lead to nothing. I can answer because I have a foundation. My God is the God of Moses. Okay? My God is the God of Yeshua, the anointed, the Christ. My God is the God of the Israelites. Who's yours? What did the Most High answer with Moses? And let alone, keep in mind, Moses was raised an Egyptian called Moshe. Okay? Moses was an Egyptian, so he knew of all the gods of the Egyptians. He was raised one. Read.
Verse 14.
Come on.
And the Most High said unto Moses, I am that I am.
I what?
I am that I am.
I am that I am. That means AHAYAH, AHAYAH in the ancient Hebrew. So the Most High gave a name of himself. I am that I am is all existing, which means he always was. And there was never a time in which he didn't exist because he created time. Time was made for us here in this realm, because there's a time that leads to judgment. He created time. That's why he says, I am that I am, the all existing. I am that I am. Read.
And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel,
This what you tell my people.
I am have sent me unto you.
I am have sent me unto you. And Moses and the prophets were told to go and tell the children of Israel that AHAYAH was sent unto them to set them free, whether they hear or forbear. And that's what we're telling all of our people. AHAYAH have sent us unto you. The all-living God, the God of all gods, is calling his people. Now that's a direct answer without ambiguity. I would expect asking 3 separate people who believe the same thing. I expect to get a clear answer if they're going to tell me to leave my God and serve theirs. I need to know who I'm serving. And if you don't have a direction, you're not in no position to tell anyone to leave the Bible. You must first get a fundamental foundation first. That's what you must do first, instead of leading us into confusion. Right? So our God is AHAYAH. Now this is what makes our God different. Because number one, we don't deny the records of the lesser gods. We don't deny the truth concerning the Egyptian gods or the Roman gods or the Persian gods. We know they exist. We don't deny them. We just don't agree with them. But the way you disagree with the God of the Hebrews is to claim they don't exist at all. He don't exist at all. And the record that speaks of him is invalid. Let's go. Let's show the difference between our God and the gods of the nations. But before we go there, let's go into the Apocrypha to show you that the Most High chose a people. He severed out for himself a people that would worship him in spirit and in truth in this earth. And the lesser gods would rule over the other nations. You got it?
Go on.
Read it. Now, as a matter of fact, this is a book, Ecclesiasticus, which is a part of the Hebrew record that predates the Bible, mind you. Read.
Ecclesiasticus 17 and 17. For in the division of the nations...
The division of the nations, which means all nations on this earth were divided. Now, mind you, a question I posed the other day was, how did nations come to this earth? And how did they divide and have a civilization within themselves? You know they couldn't answer that? Who are the other people? If you say you're the original man and the original man was black, then of course you can go to the research and give me the research on how out of these black people all nations came to be and had their own civilizations, can't you? You should have heard the confusion that came back. No detailed information on how the nation split and fragmented into their own civilizations. That can be easily answered in the Bible. I can go to Genesis 10 and 11 all the way to the Tower of Babel, which can be proven to show the splitting of the nations. I can go back to Ham, Shem, and Japheth when the Most High divided those children into family lines. They cannot answer none of these questions of how the other nations came to be. How can you be, quote unquote, claim that all people came from you and not show the world how all people came from you and what time they came from you and how the earth was divided? Where is your wisdom? You don't have it because you don't believe in the only record that can show you. Right? Read it again.
Ecclesiasticus 17 and 17.
Come on.
For in the division of the nations of the whole earth.
The divisions of nations of the whole earth. Now they're broken down into these families. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Those are the three families of the earth. All the nations that's within these three come out of those three. Read.
For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people.
So the Most High set a ruler over every people. That ruler is what you call today gods. So there's a God over every nation of the earth. And that's why you have people following Greek gods, Persian gods, because the Most High said it so. He said it where one God would be over every people, where the Greeks would have their God. The Egyptians would have their God. See? Read.
But Israel.
But who?
But Israel.
Israel means to be a prince of God. But Israel
is the Lord's portion.
Is the Most High's portion. Which means he didn't set other gods over us. He's the God over us. See? He's the God over us. All the other nations are worshiping lesser gods that were relegated to them. And see, that's the disagreement in itself. That's where the disagreement comes in. You want to worship other gods and lesser gods, and we're telling you that we are the people of the greater God, from the greater God. So we don't serve the Egyptian gods. We don't serve the Greek gods. We don't even serve the Roman Catholic gods. We don't serve the African gods. We serve the God of all gods, AHAYAH, the Father of all gods. You understand? See, there's no ambiguity there. Now, I asked a question. The question I asked was, how is it when it comes to these nations, there's so many gods? Well, you get over over there. One moment. I asked the question concerning, the other gods of the nations. And I asked, well, how did we come to such a pass? Look at our condition. When I say our condition, I'm speaking of the children of slaves. Why would any civilization allow this? How did we come to such a pass? You know that I cannot get no answer from anyone. Do you know one of the greatest points of history concerning the plight of a people? None can be chronologized or magnified as great as slavery. And I don't care what you put out there. You can put out the Holocaust. You can put out wars. You can put out whatever you want to pull out. But when it comes to persecution, when it comes to tribulation, all other persecutions and tribulation pale in comparison to the transatlantic slave trade. So when I ask a question, how do we go into captivity? Being so great of a people from Egypt up until this time, how did we come to such a demise? You know, we get a blank. No one can answer that. If we were so great as everyone is claiming it, and you know we were great, how can you just speak of our greatness and not chronologize our fall? Why? Because the answers is in the Bible. The answers are in the Bible. Real quick, even though I break this down in the academy, I'm going to preference it or just break it down and just go straight to Daniel's real quick. Before you go there, get me Deuteronomy 32 and 21 and Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Deuteronomy 7 and 6, Deuteronomy 10 and 15, and Deuteronomy, thank you, it's good, appreciate it.
Deuteronomy 7 and 6.
Read.
For thou art an holy people unto...
When we received the law, statutes, and commandments, we became the special people. I'm going to show you why we fail. I'm not going to ask you or ask you to actually answer something and not ask myself these same questions, because these are the answers our people need. We need to know how did we fall to such a pass, and what is our future because of this. The Bible says that we are a special people. Read.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee.
The Most High chose us
to be a special people.
To be a special people.
Unto himself.
Unto himself. He didn't place no other gods over us. He chose us to be that special people. When we left Egypt, we were supposed to keep laws greater than the Egyptians, greater than the other nations who are people operating with lesser gods without a law. Homosexuality all up in Egypt. Incest all up in Egypt. Unlawful activity, the worships of fallen gods, the science of the fallen gods, the civilizations of the fallen gods were all there, which they call the Anunnaki. Research it. You call it the Anunnaki, the Bible calls them the children of the fallen. Okay? Read.
To be a special people unto himself, above all gods that are upon the face of the earth.
The Most High have chosen thee to be a special people above what? Read that again.
Above all nations.
Above all nations.
That are upon the face of the earth.
What makes us special out of all nations is our laws, statutes, and commandments, and our God. To whom much is given, much is required. So if we don't follow these laws, a judgment comes. That's the reason for our captivity. That's the reason for our fall. It was our disobedience. The other nations could do nothing against us with our God. on our side. So the nations tricked us into following their God. So therefore now they can have power over us. If they can trick us into following their religions and their worship, then by default, the other nations rule over us. Is it starting to make sense here? Why do you think we don't have Egypt anymore? If we were so great and so great of a people, okay, explain why such great people fell to decadence. It cannot be explained. So we need more than others telling us that we were great. That's not enough. You need to tell us how we got to our current condition. Chronologize it piece by piece, day by day, year by year. And you can only do this with the history contained in the Bible. Deuteronomy 10 and 15, read it.
Deuteronomy 10 and 15.
Come on.
Only the Lord had a delight in thy fathers to love them.
The Most High had a delight in our fathers to love them.
And he chose their seed after them.
And he chose their seed after them.
Even you above all people as it is this day.
We were chosen. We were chosen. And that admiration the Most High had for us became envy to the other nations. Okay? And eventually they were looking to help us. Not to help us, but they were planning our demise. We're living in that demise based on the curse that's written of in the Holy Bible. Read it. Deuteronomy 32 and 21.
Started at 16.
Thank you.
Deuteronomy 32 and 16.
Come on.
They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods.
With strange gods.
With abominations provoked they him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils.
So our people began to sacrifice to devils, demons, lesser gods. Like the example is, the Egyptians, they had a different god appointed over them. Okay? Of course, through their magic and witchcraft and all that they were dealing with, there was not a curse attached to that for them. That was their way of life, their way of being, that paganism. But the children of Israel could not do so. We were the children of Abraham. We had a different way of life, and we had to shun the way of the Gentiles in order to please our God. But what happened? Read it again.
They sacrificed unto devils.
We began sacrificing to the same devils or demons as the Egyptians, the same devils and demons as the Greeks and the Persians, the lesser gods. Read.
Not to God.
Not to our God, AHAYAH. Read.
To gods whom they knew not. To new gods that came newly up.
To new gods who came newly up.
Whom your fathers feared not.
Our fathers did not fear these gods. As a matter of fact, we knew that the gods of the Egyptian and others were lesser gods. We knew their primal origin. Okay? Read.
Of the rock that begot thee, thou art unmindful.
We're unmindful of the rock that begot us. We're unmindful of the God that shaped us, named us. Read.
And has forgotten God that formed thee. And when the Lord saw it, he abhorred them.
When the Most High saw this, he abhorred us. He seen our priests worshiping the other gods. He seen our people being turned to relegate their worships and admiration to lesser gods and fallen gods. Read.
Because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. And he said, I will hide my face from them.
So the Most High said, you know what? I'm going to take my protection off of them. That's like the Most High looking down and seeing our people in the Catholic Church burning candles to the Catholic gods. It's like the Most High looking down into the earth and looking into a mosque and seeing our people bow to an Arabic, Middle Eastern, Persian god. It's like the Most High looking at our people in an Egyptian temple, dressed like Egyptians, worshiping Anubis and giving honor to Osiris and Isis, when we are all from him, when we were chosen to be severed from them. So because of this came what? A curse. If you don't want the God that protect you, he's going to show you what happens under the gods of the nations. If you want those gods, then this is what you get. You get the people who reverence those gods as your master. You see how it works? And that's why religion is aimed towards our people. They know this. They have our history. They know that if they can get us to turn to their religion, by default, the nation who originally worshiped that God have power over you. And see, we don't get power over the nations as prophesied until we serve the God we walked away from. So we don't get a chance to have nations under us like we are under them until we come back to our God. You see how all this is resolved? We'll always be less than them if we worship their gods. If we worship the Egyptian gods, we'll always be less than Egyptians. If we worship the Catholic gods and the Edomite gods, we'll always be less than the Edomites. Okay? If we worship the Asian gods, we'll always be less than the Asians, because you cannot worship their gods better than them. The Most High severed out gods for them to worship from the beginning. And guess what? That's their ancient gods. So that's why they'll give you Buddhist teachings. That's why they'll give you modern day pagan Catholic teachings. That's why they'll give you African teachings and Hamitic teachings. That's why they'll flood our neighborhoods with these different types of information. When you go into other areas, you don't see this. You don't see one people in one area being fragmented with all different religions. And I noticed this. When I went to the suburbs and I was working in the suburbs, I used to see in the suburbs one church for everybody in that area. You didn't see a mosque there. You didn't see nothing there. They worship their Catholic God, period. When you go into a Middle Eastern neighborhood where the Arabs are, all of the Arabs are in the mosque together. You don't see them fragmented and separated all up. They're worshiping Allah. When you see the Asians go worship, they're all worshiping Buddha, lighting candles and lighting incense to Buddha. You don't see them divided in number. But come amongst us. We're divided in everything. And we're the destitute and lowest on earth. So it's not because we have a lack of religion. We have left our God. And there's no other book on earth that can resolve this but the Bible. That tells us what will happen to us by following other gods. The only book that resolves our current scenario, our current situation, and chronologize it perfect is the Bible itself. Read it.
And he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be.
So the Most High says, I'm going to hide my face from them. That's taking that hedge of protection off of us. So that protection was taken off us. And now the nations were ready now. And it's like, okay, now that their God have abandoned them for a time, let's take them. Let's conspire against them. Let's tear them down piece by piece and separate them and make sure they never understand that they are the children of the living God. We're going to flood them with religion, flood them with lesser gods, flood them with so much confusion that knowledge itself will become a snare, will become a trap for them. They'll never find their way. We'll make sure all of the world history omit their existence. So they'll never find the God that called Moses. You understand? They will never find the God that called the prophets. They will never find the God that brought forth the spirit of his son Yeshua in this earth. Read.
For they are a very froward generation, children in whom is no faith. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities.
Go ahead.
And I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people.
So if you're going to put up a no God for me, I'm going to put up a no people for you. If you want to follow these pagan gods, be pagan then. And then let's see what will be your end. The nations who've enslaved us have never looked to favor us or make things in our turn, or to make things right for us so that we can find our correct God. Their whole point of religion was to keep us enslaved. Don't you know this? All through society, their whole point of existence was to keep us down. Why? Because two powers cannot rule at once. How can these people of power rule if their God is given? I mean, how can we rule, the nations are saying, if these people receive a God that will give them rulership over us? So the God of Israel, AHAYAH, was hid from us throughout all civilization. All the nations hid the name and the true understanding of our God from us. You think they don't know our God? They know our God. The biggest problem is we don't know our God. That's the issue. They know our God. Right? Read.
I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
With a foolish nation. Go on.
Oh, that's it.
Now, let's go to the book of Daniel real quick. I'm just going to preference this without breaking the whole thing down to show you how the Most High showed our prophets from one civilization to the next, leading to our current condition, which means our fall was chronologized in the Bible. The prophets were asking, how long will we go through this? And the Most High gave them points of prophecy that led to our current condition. A matter of fact, slave ships is actually prophesied in the Bible. We've said that in Deuteronomy 28 over and over again, to show you the Most High actually resolving that promise that if we follow the other nations, we would go into captivity. There's no other record you can find on earth that can resolve our situation, how we fell and how to get out of this current condition. Nowhere. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Read the first verse.
Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream of visions of his head upon his bed.
Come on.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
So the Most High showed Daniel in a vision prophecies that would chronologize Israel's existence from one empire to the next. Okay? Daniel was a great prophet during the time of the Persians, part of the Babylonian Empire into the Persian Empire. Read.
Verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
The lion and eagle wings. Now, mind you, these prophecies that were foretold by Daniel happen in chronological order, leading up into our current time. The lion with eagle wings in modern day or in past archaeology that you can find is in Babylon. The lion with eagle wings is an artifact that shows Nebuchadnezzar during the 6th century. So here it is. I can chronologize our people during Daniel's time and resolve all empires leading to our freedom by actually reading Daniel. Lion with eagle wings, read.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked.
He beheld that the wings thereof was plucked.
And it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man.
A man is the Persian, after Babylon, you got the Persian Medo Empire. See? The bear stands on two legs. You got the Persian, you got Babylon, read.
It says,
Read that last part again.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked,
I beheld till the wings were plucked,
and it was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
That's Nebuchadnezzar. It's going into the bear next. My fault. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And beheld another beast,
Here's another beast. Here's the second beast.
a second like to a bear,
Like unto a bear, because a bear, stands on two legs. Now the empire, instead of the Babylonian Empire, the next empire that would come in would stand on two legs, and that's the Persian and the Medo Empire. In chronological order. Read.
and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld.
And we know that happened under Darius, that happened under King Xerxes. Now these are all the empires that ruled Israel one by one that can be chronologized in the Bible. So when you look in the Old Testament, the prophets, right after the time of the law and all that, it's going into us being ruled in each empire. The Old Testament is actually showing us from this empire, from the Persian Empire to what? From the Babylonian Empire to the Persian Medo Empire. And all through these empires, there's history there that links directly to our DNA. So this is well before the captivity of America, brothers and sisters. This is chronologizing our existence from one civilization to the next. How we eventually lost our identity altogether. See? So these are Israelites that are going through these things, these prophecies that's written here. So when we put down the Bible, we lose this history. We just can't go to Egypt and just stay at Egypt. When we know that our people fell to more than Egypt. We fell to the Egyptians. Eventually, we became a people. Then we fell to the Persian Empire, the Babylonian and Syrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire. Read.
Verse 6.
Come on.
After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
And we know the leopard was in the future tense, because this is all future prophecy Daniel was given here, was Alexander the Greek, who came down the mount with a leopard skin on him. How did Daniel know that this guy 200 years in the future? That was the next king that would rule over our people, that would rule in this earth, and that our people would serve to build a new empire. Like unto a leopard, read.
Which had upon the back of it 4 wings.
The 4 wings were the 4 generals under Alexander the Greek that was prophesied by Daniel. That's the third beast. So when I ask about civilizations the other day, from one to the next, and what chronologized these and how can we resolve them in Egyptology, there was no answer. Now I'm actually charting in a nutshell what empire we served one after the other due to our disobedience. Of course, the Most High would not curse us and not tell us what curses we would go through and how long we would go through them. That's what he was showing Daniel. Well, listen, Daniel, I'm going to show you in a vision how long you have. These are the empires that will rule before I come save your people. You must go through the Babylonian Empire. You must go through the Persian and Mede Empire. You must go through the Greek Empire. See that? Let's give me the precept in Daniel's 9 about Grecia, the rough goat. Daniel 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 8.
Read.
Therefore, matter of fact, let me jump down. Verse 21. And the rough goat.
And the rough goat
is the king of Grecia.
Is the king of who?
Is the king of Grecia.
Is the king of Grecia.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
So we know that empire is who? Grecia. Read.
And the horn, or the great horn.
No. Let's go back, because we're going to resolve it.
This is the book of.
So when you look at the rough goat, that also linked to the leopard when we read down here, and I'm going to show you. It links directly to the Greeks who worship Satan or the Baphomet. The Grecians were Satanists. They gained information from Lucifer on how to rule us. That's why Alexander is also attached to the rough goat. Read.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard,
Another like unto a leopard.
which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
That's the Grecian Empire being broken or fragmented into 4 different areas through the 4 generals of Alexander the Greek after Alexander died. Taking their paganism and their newfound republic type teachings on how to actually deal with a democracy throughout the earth and ruling the earth under a Grecian rule. Read.
And the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Before Alexander died, he gave rulership to his 4 generals. That's the Grecian Empire around in the 4th century, in the early 4th century, around 330 to 333 BC. This is way after Daniel. So we will go through the Grecian Empire. What's next?
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast,
A 4th beast.
dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly.
Come on.
And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. And we know the 10 horns is the original EU. The 4th beast is who? Rome. Rome, the 4th beast, which was prophesied out of the book of Daniel, which would, instead of ruling from just Italy, it would be what you would call a compilation of different nations that will grow and grow and grow. Okay, it started with the 10, but they would go out and expand the Roman Empire. The Bible is chronologizing time here. So when you put down the Bible, you're losing all this great wealth of information that chronologizes and resolves time. See? Read.
Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Now a little horn is coming up from amongst them,
before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
So now a new horn would come from the 3 horns that's plucked up by the root. So out of the 10 horns came 3 that would make 1. We know that America was made from who? You got it. The French, the Spanish, and the Great Britain. So 3 of the 10 horns will actually make the one that would rule today. And guess what? People helped build that one little horn that was plucked from 3 of the 10. We were the people that were taking on slave ships to build this last empire. Now look how we just broke that down in a couple of seconds there. We just chronologized our whole existence from our fallen Egypt, the Most High revealing himself as the God of all gods to Moses, to the law, statutes, and commandments, to the time we fell as a people and began to serve one nation after the other. So not only can we teach the people our plight and our fall, we can also tell the nations how they came into existence, how they became superpowers, and how long before their fall. See? Because it was chronologized by the God of all gods. So when you talk about, when people talk about putting down the Bible or just saying, let's not deal with the Bible, understand the wealth of information you are ignoring. See? Read.
Verse 8.
Come on.
In fact, I'll finish verse 7. Or verse 8. Salakia, it says,
Come on.
Behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
And we know that in this new empire, the last empire, this last empire would have a mouth speaking great things. Let's go to what they'll be speaking.
Verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
Against what?
Against the Most High.
This new empire will make laws against the laws of the Most High. That's the great words they speak. Read.
and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And they will wear out the saints of the Most High in this new empire. How did they wear out the saints? Slavery. The saints had to build the new empire. Psalms 55 and 6 tell you who the saints are. The saints are them that made a covenant with the Most High by sacrifice. We are the saints that built the last empire. And in this empire will go out what? Lawlessness. Against the law, statutes, and commandments written in the book. Why go anywhere? Show me where else we need to go here. Why put down this book? Read.
And think to change times and laws.
They will think to change times and laws. What times? The times chronologized in the Bible concerning judgment. That's why they have everyone believing we're in 2015 what? AD. When really the time is 7 years off. You have to minus 7 years to know exactly what time we're in. The devil in his fallen did this to do what?
And they shall think to change times and laws.
Read.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times.
Who shall be given into their hands? Read it again.
And they shall be given into the hand
Read.
for his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
So the Most High actually gave us a time of jubilees to calculate how long we'll be serving throughout these empires before he saves us. A time, and a dividing of times, which breaks down a consummation time of salvation at the very end of it. We will be given into these people's hands for a certain amount of time, which means our captivity is not permanent. We will not stay in this condition forever. We will receive the promises of Abraham, and all the nations are fighting against time. At the end of time is our rulership. Time is what was given to the unjust before the consummation. So how can you go outside the Bible when the Bible is the only book that prophesies and chronologize our fall and give us a time period on how long we have left and how to get the promises if we follow the law, statutes, and commandments contained in the book? What's so wrong with it? Finish reading.
This is back in Daniel 7, verse 9.
Come on.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
So here it is. Daniel, in a vision, seen all these empires until all the empires were cast down, including America. He's seen the end of all the empires, the Gentile nations, the Gentiles, kingdoms. And you know something is wrong with the Gentile kingdom. Think about it. How can you have a kingdom where you're open to worship anything you want? What type of God is that? Where you can do whatever you want and not reverence the God of all gods. What, you think the Hebrew God will allow you to worship Buddha? Would allow you to worship Anubis or Osiris or Zeus? Think about that. These are fallen angel. These are demon kingdoms, demonic kingdoms set up by Satan himself to entrap our people. And he's doing a good job. This slavery is supposed to be our lesson. That's what slavery was. We are supposed to learn from slavery and say, well, okay, I never want to come to such a demise again. How do I avoid this? This is supposed to be the lesson based on the prophecies chronologizing our fall. So instead of us trying to find the point from which we fell in our captivity, we're glorifying ourselves and following the ways of the Gentiles as slaves. Read on.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
Read.
And the Ancient of Days did sit.
So Daniel's seen the end of all empires to the point where the judge sat. Read.
Whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool.
So the Most High God is sitting on a throne with a woolly bush. Read.
His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels of burning or as burning fire.
Come on.
A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him.
It's speaking of the angels that minister unto the Most High. Thousands upon thousands minister to the Most High in the heavenly realm.
And 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, and the judgment was set.
And the judgment was set because eventually there's an eventual judgment for the gods of the nations, the fallen gods that were once in the heavenly realm. There's a judgment for them, and there's a judgment for the nations who reverence them, who serve them. Read.
The judgment was set, and the books were opened.
And the books were open. Read.
Verse 11. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame.
So the Most High have a judgment for the final beast, and that's utter flames and destruction. That means that last horn that came out of the 3 from the 10, from the 4th beast, which is what we call today Babylon or America, will be destroyed by fire, according to our God. That's the judgment of that place, that the Most High cannot have no trace of existence of that particular place, which represents all the beasts in one. It have the same religion as Babylon. It have what you would call the democracy in the Republic of Rome. It have the satanic worships of ancient Persia and the worship of gods from Rome all the way back to ancient Egypt. So America is all of our captivities wrapped up into one. It's Sodom and Gomorrah. It's all the evil from the beginning resolved in one country. So the Most High showed Daniel it burning. Rome was not complete. Rome eventually was circumvented by our generals, the Jews who came in and destroyed it. It was wounded. And no sooner as it made itself back again as America, it began to attack us, the people who destroyed or wounded ancient Rome. You understand? Read on.
Verse 12.
Come on.
As concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
So all the nations did have their dominion taken away. America is ruling now, but aren't they still in existence? Yes. Yes. They're still in existence. There was a time where the Grecians were the greatest empire. There was a time in which Babylon was the greatest empire. But where's their power now? So don't think that America's power is going to stay forever. The same God that took down those dominions, those kingdoms, is now prepared to take down America. And after America is destroyed, that's the end of our captivity. That's the last captivity chronologized in the Bible. See that? There will be no one worshiping Anubis, Osiris. There'll be no people calling on Jesus in this new kingdom. Because Jesus comes from Zeus. There'll be no people calling on none of the ancient gods of the nations in this new kingdom. There will be one God. There will be one king. And there will be one nation ruling. The nation of Israel. Read.
Verse 13.
Come on.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages.
That all people, nations, languages, read.
Should serve him.
Should serve him. So there will be no more paganism after America is destroyed. Once America is destroyed, that's going to be a message for the rest of the earth before Christ come back and put a dent in it. A permanent dent. America is the last superpower. And then what happens? All nations will know at that time that they were serving lesser gods. All the gods that were appointed over the other nations will be bound under their lord Lucifer, with their lord Satan, the great Satan. And therefore, by default, all the nations that have been following America will then turn to follow the God who have put their master underfoot. There will be no debate on what religion is correct and what we should be following and what God is the true God. Read on.
Verse 14, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him.
Come on.
His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away.
That shall not pass away. Read.
And his kingdom.
And his kingdom.
That which shall not be destroyed.
That shall not be destroyed. That's crystal clear. Now, I just went into Daniel and resolved the beginning of our captivity to the end. The beginning of it till the end. And it's written of in our Bible. Do you know every kingdom was prophesied by Daniel that we served under? And it happened exactly how he was showed. Till the Ancient of Days did sit, until all the kingdoms were thrown down. Every kingdom came into existence exactly how it was showed to Daniel. Where can I get this? Can I get this from the Egyptian papyrus papers? Can I get this from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Gita? Where can I get this information from that resolves our condition? Can I go to Buddha and get this? Can I go to the Catholic Church and get this? Can I even go to the Baptist Church and receive this? It's in the Bible. And I'm just showing you the importance of this because I notice every religion in this earth, the first point of connection with those who are ignorant is to have them question the Bible. Have them question whether or not the Bible is the book we should be looking at. That's the first stage. And you follow in any other religion outside. No matter what religion it is, they can all agree that the Bible is not right. Why? And I never see none of these alternative religions attacking the Quran or any other book. But they attack the Bible. Why? Because they know the Bible is for our turn. The Bible speaks of the God of all gods, for the God of all gods. And our God hates the God of the nations. And the only reason he's allowing them to exist as powers is through his word. There's a time for judgment. And because that time has not been resolved, he's letting the God of the nations do their will in this earth until their time is resolved. What you have there?
This is Zechariah 14.
Come on.
This is linking to Daniel. We just read Christ's kingdom. Now we're going to show you that even the Egyptians will have to worship and serve in Christ's kingdom.
That's beautiful.
This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 18. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain. In fact, I'll start up a few verses. It says,
this is speaking of the nations who decide that they don't want to follow our God.
This is Zechariah 14 and 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations, which came against Jerusalem, shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
That means all nations must come up and give reverence to Yeshua, who will be ruling from Jerusalem. Read.
Verse 17. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth.
That means if some family of the earth decide that they don't want to follow what's decreed from our God. Read.
Unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt,
If the family of Egypt
go not up and come not,
and don't come to Jerusalem once a year like they're told to, read.
that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles.
The Most High will plague them again.
This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles.
So that means all nations will be following the holy days. There will be no more Christmas. There will be no more Hanukkah. I mean, what they call Hanukkah, the way we know it's Babylonian worship of Hanukkah. There will be no more Christmas. There will be no more Saturnalia. There will be no more African holidays. They will come up to the Feast of Tabernacles as the Hebrews and give reverence to our King. And that's after we're set free. No other book chronologize it like this. Chronologize our fall and our rulership and what will be happening in our kingdom after the fall of America. I need you to go into, we'll tell you real quick. We trust in oppression and stay thereon. One moment. Isaiah the 30th chapter.
Isaiah chapter 30.
Let's start at 12.
Isaiah 30 and 12. Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel.
Therefore say the Holy One of Israel, what?
Because ye despise this word.
Because we despise this word, which is the Bible.
And trust in oppression.
And we trust in oppression. Why do the Most High say we trust in oppression? The Egyptians oppressed us. How can we trust on them? How can we trust the people who've enslaved us? So the Bible says, why? Read that again.
Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel.
Read.
Because ye despise this word.
Because you despise this word, which is the Bible.
And trust in oppression.
You trust in the history and the worships of your oppressors.
And perverseness.
And perverseness.
And stay thereon.
And we stay thereon. That means we make our oppression a religion. How can we reverence the Egyptians when they made us serve? When they used for mortar the blood of our children? One of their pharaohs was so evil there. It tells us in the book of Jasher that one of the sorcerers of Egypt told the king once he was plagued because he gave us hell, the Most High plagued him. So sorcerer says it's the God of the Hebrews doing this to you. So what you need to do is take a child, an infant, each day and kill an infant and bathe in his blood to be healed. What type of science and madness was that? You know that a baby died every day of our people as what they call an healing quality to give youth to a dying pharaoh. And that's chronicled in Egyptian history also, where they were killing babies, taking babies from our mothers, from our women, and killing one baby a day until this pharaoh died. And he was bathing in the blood of our children. So how can we trust in these people? Read it again.
Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel.
Come on.
Because ye despise this word.
Because we despise the word of God.
And trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon.
Come on.
Therefore the iniquity shall be on you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. and he shall break it as in the breaking of the potter's vessel, that is broken in pieces. He shall not spare, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a sherd to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit.
So the Most High said he's going to utterly eradicate us, make us desolate when you break this down. That we would leave our homeland. We'll be totally destitute because we began to trust on our oppression. We became broken. The Most High broke us because we trust the God of the nations. Now the Most High in the last days, in our current time now, is calling us back. He's given us that information that the nations deprived us from. He's given us the truth concerning the reason for our fall. He's given us back the Bible. Right? Now there's one other thing I wanted to go into. Let's go to Jeremiah 5:26.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, verse 26.
Yes.
For among my people,
speaking of God's people,
are found wicked men.
They
lay wait as he that setteth snares.
They lay wait and set traps. And I'm pointing out those that are bringing forth alternative religions and alternative ideologies within our people. I can understand why the Catholics and the Roman Catholic Church bring forth their teachings amongst us. I can understand why the Arabs bring forth their teachings amongst us. It empowers them. But what benefit our people to bring Gentile religions to their people? The Most High says it's like they're setting a trap for us. Read.
For among my people are found wicked men.
Read.
They lay wait.
They lay wait.
As he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
They catch men. So there's traps in these certain religions that catches men. Read.
27.
Come on.
As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit.
Their houses are full of deceit that would have our people turn away from the book. Total deception. Read.
Therefore they are become great and waxen rich. They are waxen fat. They shine. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked.
They overpass the deeds of the wicked because they're gaining riches from our people's downfall. There's many people that are getting admiration and riches and power off of keeping our people ignorant of our God. Read verse.
They judge not the cause of the fatherless.
Go ahead.
Yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge. Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. And my people love to have it so.
And my people love, most I say, his people love to stay in this ignorance. There's always an audience for foolishness amongst our people. There's always an audience. Amongst our people are wicked men that will tell you, put down the Bible. The Bible is not true. The Bible is not the word that belongs to our ancestors. When really the Bible is the only answer. I asked questions the other day. Well, who's your God? They got mad at me for posing common sense questions. One person broke out in total profanity. Like I dare ask him a common sense question like that. Like what person you run into that you're converting into your belief that don't even ask you who you worshiping and what's your God? That's not a point of offense. That's a point to teach. You should be ready to give an answer to every man with a question. When I ask you who's your God, are you afraid to tell us? Because behind closed doors, I'm sure there's a chief god they follow. But they won't tell you that they're worshiping Lucifer, the fallen one. They set traps. And see, another thing that we want to put out there for you brothers and sisters who are fairly new, especially those that are Christian, because we want Christians, even if you don't follow everything that we follow right now, we would rather Christians to stay in the Bible, because they play on Christians' ignorance of history. Christians have the faith to follow Christ and the belief to follow Christ, but they don't have the detailed history as a foundation. And these so-called black nationalist teachings and these black consciousness teachings try to play on your ignorance of history. But when you ask them first-hand questions, you're going to find that they don't even have the history they purport to know, that they expound on. They don't have no history. So I ask, who's your God? Got no answer. I ask, chronologize our fall from one empire to the next. No answer. I ask how the nations came to be. No answer. And I expect all you brothers and sisters who run into these guys, before receiving anything from them, ask those questions first. If they can't answer these questions, tell them to scurry along, because this Bible is the answers you need. Don't have them confuse you concerning the context of this Bible, because they are not learned men. They're not learned. They don't understand the book. And if you go into the book looking for contradictions, you're going to find them. Okay? But the Bible is not the contradiction. Okay? It's your mind. It's it's the confusion you came into the book with. Some other points. What you got there?
I got two references.
Come on.
Real quick. Two scriptures to help those that are new as far as your foundation. John 14:6.
Let's get it.
Yeshua answered and saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Christ says, I'm the way, the truth, the life.
No man cometh to the Father but by me.
No man cometh to the Father but by me. You can't come to the Father but through Christ. Now, before you get to the next one, some people may say, well, I don't believe in Christ, whatever the case is. And since we're talking about the Egyptologists and others that are against the Bible, who don't believe in Christ, I like to do things with common sense concerning that points to their ignorance. Like, here's another question you can pose out there before you get that scripture. Mm-hmm. What year are we in? They'll say we're in 2015. Yeah? 2015 what? They say 2015 AD. Ambi Domini. What does that mean? 2015, the day of our Lord? What Lord? So you're following Christ even by acknowledging the dates. All the dates are predicated off of Christ's birth and his coming. You understand? You're not giving me no Egyptian time of year. You give me 2015 Ambi Domini. So obviously time is predicated on the coming of this certain man as far as his birth and his coming for judgment. That's what Ambi Domini means. And if you want to go back to history and we talk about the kings and all that and what dates they existed, it'll be a date with BC before it, before Christ. So you believe Christ in your non-belief. Okay? Also, in the Great Pyramid, there's a time stamp that linked directly with the Bible in the Great Pyramid that have a distance from the beginning of Adam up until the time that Christ was born to a time of judgment that it ends in the pyramid. A time stamp that revolves around Christ in the pyramid. Why? Because the Great Pyramid Sphinx was built by angels with a time stamp of judgment based on the fall of the fallen angels, based on a time stamp of the judgment that would come to the fallen angels from the beginning. that can only be resolved in the book of the Hebrews, like the Bible in the book of Enoch and the book of Jasher. So you must come back to the Hebrew records, which are our fathers' records, to resolve our existence and to chart our future. What else you have there?
This is Colossians 1:17.
Come on.
And he is before all things,
And
speaking
he
about
is
Christ,
before all things, Christ.
and by him all things consist.
All things consist through the Spirit of Christ who was there in the beginning with the Father. I'm speaking of the spiritual realm now. All things exist from him because he was the first begotten, the first spirit made from the Father, according to the Bible, according to the Hebrew records. He's the prophet. He's the Messiah. He's the King. No man cometh to the Father but by him. You must believe. Now, the majority of our people are not going to believe. But the Bible says, go tell our people whether they hear or forbear. Only 10% will make it. Only 10%, 1 out of 10. So this is not for everyone, I understand. But don't you dare try to claim the Bible is not the true book of our people, for our people, from our people, because there's nothing else. What else do we have? What else? The Bible is the key, and I'm not just speaking of any Bible. The King James Version, which closely correlates to the Hebrew. All right?
But I can add this also.
Come on.
Just reading it again, it says, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. When you look up the word consist, it means to stand or to be consistent. So you wonder why there's so much inconsistency in the histories of Egypt and all the other nations. What happens is when you take Christ out of the picture, that's what you get. You get inconsistencies. So going back to St. John, the 14th chapter, the 6th verse, he is the way, the truth, and the life. No matter how many facts and so-called truths people bring out, if it's not relating to Christ, it's false. It's of no value. So that's the easiest way to filter information. I don't care how much huge words they use or how much things they bring out concerning history. If it's not leading you back to Christ, then it's of no value.
Of no value, period. And one other thing I would like to mention, all right, and I'm speaking solely based, I don't know if any of you heard the radio station this past Wednesday. And I'm speaking right now solely to the brothers and sisters who are on the fence concerning the whole thing. I need you to go back and listen to that radio broadcast. And I need you to understand that I did nothing but ask pertinent questions and allow them to answer them any way they seem necessary. I said, well, listen, I just need a source. If the Bible is not the way, and you know it's not the way, then I'm willing to hear some sources that can point me to the right way. Let's not argue the Bible. I said, just come on and bring me your truth then. Show us where our people come from. Show us why we're in this condition. Show us the history of our rise and fall and chronologize it year to year. Give it to me. And what books I can go to worship the true God. Who is the true God? And you're going to find, brothers and sisters, that these guys got infuriated. Some of them hung up. They got mad. And the only thing I did was ask them to bring forth their strong reasons, to bring forth what they feel is true. I need to get two scriptures. 1 Thessalonians 5:21.
First Thessalonians 5:21.
Yes.
Prove all things.
The Bible says prove all things. If you're going to get us out of the Bible, you must prove what you have and show that to be true. The Bible says, prove all things, and what?
Hold fast that which is good.
Hold fast to that which is good. If you can't prove it, don't bring it. Another thing that I want to put out there, because right before we go, if you have anything, you can bring it. But with the debate that's coming tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I think it starts 2 o'clock with Gabar. I was told to mention it. And some people think that we shouldn't do it and all that. And I'm like, it's no problem. Let it be done. Come to find out that while he was there the first time, Elder Gabar, he found brothers and sisters who were actually in that stuff, who was dabbling into it, that after hearing Gabar say a few things, they came to where he was teaching. Because our people are looking for answers. They can't find it in the churches because the churches are not teaching the Bible correctly. So the alternative is to try to go into these other black consciousness type of movements. But I'm going to show you something. The Spirit of the Most High worked that if Gabar didn't go there, you would have a brother or sister that followed him to truth still there. So ultimately, it's the will of the Most High. We can't look at something and say, well, we shouldn't deal with this or shouldn't do with that. We have to let the Most High's will be done. You understand? We have to go out and save as many souls as possible in different venues. And this is another opportunity. One other thing that I found out, brothers and sisters, and I'm going to give you the source for this. I noticed the confusion when it comes to Egyptology and Egyptian history comes from one key source that they use over and over again to claim that Israel was never in Egypt. And the only source they use, it all comes from Manetho, a Greek-speaking patsy who was an Egyptian. His name is Manetho. If you want to read about Manetho, and soon we're going to have the complete class on it as far as the Egyptian confusion. That's what it should be called, the Egyptian confusion. What Manetho did, you can look in the book of the Josephus on Manetho. Go get the complete works of Josephus. Go to your back and look up Manetho. Okay? And it'll tell you what Manetho did on purpose. He purposely switched up in the chronological Egyptian history and how it's chronologized. He purposely switched it up, knowing that our people became great in Egypt. So he made it where the grandson would be the father and all that, so that Egyptian history would be totally confused concerning dynasties. Therefore, when we look back there, we wouldn't know where we served in Egypt in modern day history. Manethos, M-A-N-E-T-H-O-S, Manetho, did this. He was paid by the Greeks to change the history, knowing that we would one day look back at Egypt. And Josephus called him out and say, you confuse time so much. Now, Egyptians can't even look back there and know when their family ruled, because they turned things upside down just to hide our existence in Egypt. So all of their teachings that champions Egyptology against the Bible comes from modern day, comes from the misrepresentation during the time of the Greeks by an Egyptian named Manethos, who hated us. He hated our people, knowing the history of how the Most High saved the children of Israel out of Egypt. So how can you go to an Egyptian to chronologize the Hebrews' history there? So I'm putting that out there too. All right. With that, I'm going to answer a few questions, and those that want to support Gabar tomorrow, of course, Gabar is going to be on in a few minutes to tell you exactly how to support it. If you would like to support the conversation and the discourse between Elder Gabar with the Gathering of Christ Church and the House of Black Consciousness. Like I said before, I support him 100%, and I know that the Most High will do well and save souls out of it. Anything else?
That's it.
Good. All right. And I thank the Most High for the opportunity to come before you, and I apologize for the time trouble we had, the time we started today. We had some internet issues. We had to go to a different location. It's okay. I wanted to go into the book of Revelations and also the fall of the Gentile gods today and segue into this last part. But I can only do the last part. So next week, I'll go into some of the teachings of the book of Revelations and the worship of the Gentile gods, even up into the Roman Empire. I'll go into that next week. So let me answer. Okay, pause is off now. You can chat now. The advanced lessons haven't began yet, but we will start them up soon. You just stay tuned. When the advanced lessons start again, you will be invited if you were in prior academies. Okay. Someone asked something about the Egyptologists. Why do they believe Egypt predates the Bible? Well, they believe the Egypt predates the Bible because the Bible was compiled in 1611. And that's really an ignorant excuse for claiming that we shouldn't follow the Bible. So does that mean that we must exclude every book that came after the Egyptian Empire fell? Okay, so it doesn't make any sense. Okay, the Bible is a compilation of many scrolls. So just because the Egyptians' history predates, or what they have on the papyrus papers predates the Bible, doesn't mean the Bible is not correct in the word, that we, it don't mean that we should ignore the word of God and its instruction because the papyrus papers were compiled before the Bible compilation. Doesn't make any sense. You understand? The Egyptian history predates the Bible. The Bible wasn't compiled until 1611. But the scrolls within the Bible predates Egypt. See, and that's how you answer that. The Bible itself came around 1611. But the scrolls that were used and translated from the Old Testament predates the Bible. Predates Egyptian history. Okay? That's how you answer that. What else we have here? You have it there?
Someone says, also, where can I send donations?
Okay, if you would like to donate, just send an email to gatheringas1, the number 1, at AOL.com, and we'll let you know exactly how you can donate to the work. Just say your name and that you would like to support the work, and we'll respond with an email to tell you how to do so. Okay? And I also want to put out there, we want a lot of you to support the gatheringofchrist.org, the webpage. So many things are being done there. We don't want you to miss out because that's going to be Gathering of Christ Church real time on everything. A lot of work is being put there, placed there, so that you can actually do all your learning and everything right there. So stay on that webpage, gatheringofchrist.org. What's next?
Someone says, I was in a physical altercation with my brother concerning what the lesson was about today. Thanks for clearing things up.
She was in a physical altercation with her brother concerning what?
Concerning what the lesson was about today. I guess based on the topic we were talking about, maybe they were speaking the same thing or had the same conversation and it broke out into an altercation.
So I guess her brother probably was dealing with Egyptology. Maybe
so, yeah.
What I've noticed, and it's no, disrespect to everyone that followed that particular teaching, is that, and I noticed in the midst of us asking questions, there was some emotional instability with the brothers, where they were breaking out and cursing, and and trying to and wonder, where am I coming from with the questions? It doesn't matter where we're coming from. Even if we had every intent to trip you up, you should be able to answer these questions, being a teacher, being someone of high regard, who say that we shouldn't be following the Bible. You can't just pull people out of the Bible, which is a fundamental foundation for them, to lead them nowhere. So these are the questions we need answered to give some respect to what you're teaching. If you can't tell me who your God is, who we are, and where we come from, and how this is chronologized, and resolve it in an efficient amount of time, then that's not our fault. You shouldn't be teaching until you figure these things out. And I noticed they got unstable because they're used to being on the giving end of asking questions to try to break down our Bible. They're not used to being the people tasked with substantiating their belief. Okay? So that's not our fault. You should know what you deal with to answer these questions. You should do more studying in what you're dealing with, instead of trying to study how to break down and prove the Bible is not right. Okay, spend more time and get some education on what you have before you can claim our book is not right. So I've noticed that emotional instability that this sister is speaking of right here, because they were asked questions that the questions I asked, I knew they couldn't answer. Okay, but they should be able to. All right, what's next?
Someone says they want their son circumcised.
Yeah.
Since he received no shot, the doctors say they will have to do extreme things to him. What should I do?
First of all, what do shots got to do with circumcision? One have nothing to do with the other. So again, they think they're putting forth these answers as if we're ignorant. I would ask the doctor, excuse me, what do shots have to do with my son getting circumcised? And what type of other things you feel you need to do to him? What are you talking about? There's a machine you have that does circumcisions, and it's quite swift. Jewish people get circumcised every day, Jewish children. So what are you talking about? These Jewish children are not getting shot up by vaccines. And I'm going to tell you, that's another thing. They're on this campaign of measles again. It's total propaganda garbage about measles. Okay? Vaccines are a weapon. It's not medicine. It's a weapon that's causing sickle cell anemia and every other type of disease with these ailments that are plaguing our communities. It's stealth weapons. Okay? First of all, you stop taking these doctors' answers and receiving them as if they're the authority. Okay? If he won't do it, there's another doctor that will gladly take your money to circumcise your child. Look at him and say, well, listen, brother, or whomever you are, listen, if you can't do this, then I'll go to someone else. Okay? According to my law, my son must be circumcised. All right? We don't take deadly vaccines. That's against my religion. But my religion tells us that we can circumcise our children. Okay? Now, do you want to violate my religion? If so, keep in mind this conversation is being recorded. It's that simple. Stop giving these guys authority because they put on white jackets. What's next?
Someone says, was the word amen added to the KJV Bible as a way to cause us to end prayers by saying unknowingly, paying homage to Amen Ra?
Read that again.
Was the word amen added to the Bible?
Who's the person
Finney,
depositing this question here?
Finney 826.
Read it again.
Was the word amen added to the KJV Bible as a way to cause us to end our prayers by saying unknowingly, paying homage to Amen Ra?
What scripture is that? That's my answer to that. What scripture is that? And I'm going to say that because if you believe in the Bible and understand the Bible, then you know that through the precepts that I get understanding. Is there a precept in the Bible that says by ending with amen, you're giving homage to Amen Ra? And if it's not in the Bible, then where did it come from? See? And I'm saying that not to put you on blast or nothing, but if you start to believe things outside of the Bible from other people that the Bible don't substantiate, it'll take you off in different areas if you begin to believe these things that the Bible does not substantiate. You have to have a fundamental foundation within the Bible and say, if the Bible don't say it, then I'm not even going to give this any credence. First of all, to answer that question scholastically, you get yourself an exhaustive strong concordance and you look up the word amen. And you'll see what it means in Hebrew and you'll see what it means in the Greek. Amen only means so be it. It's actually a word, a Hebrew word, amen, that has a Hebrew meaning. Have nothing to do with Amen Ra. See, but this is what the Egyptians do with their, and I'm going to show you how simple they are with this. They claim one should not deal with the Bible on one side of the coin, and then say that their belief can be substantiated because amen is in the Bible. So which one is it? Should you follow the Bible because Amen Ra is in it then? To show you that brothers and sisters don't get caught up in their confusion. If Amen Ra is in the Bible, then why aren't you following it? You should follow it then, right? To show you their confusion. Their whole point is to confuse you and make you say, well, Amen Ra is in the Bible. Well, I don't know much about Amen Ra. Can you show me? And then they bring out a book from the seventh part of hell with Azazel and all types of fallen demons in it and say, yeah, check out the Egyptian Book of the Dead. You can find out all you see. They only give you amen. They just give you his name. Let me show you how you follow and worship this fallen Nephilim, this part demon and part angel. What's next?
Someone says, how can I get a precept booklet?
How can you get a precept booklet? If you are in the academy, then what we do is, part of the academy is at the end of the academy, we give you the precept booklet. We send it to you, all the breakdowns that I have in my precept booklet that I taught with. We give you that. What's next?
Which scripture should I pull if someone says that the woman is God, the water?
What scripture shall I pull if someone say that the woman is God? What you got?
Exodus 15:3.
Read it.
The Lord is a man of war.
Huh?
The Lord is a man of war.
A woman of war.
The Lord is a man of war. The Lord
I asked
is
this
his
brother
name.
who was God the other day, and he said his wife. Then I did some further digging into this thing. And then I found out this brother got multiple wives. So that's a whole nother step into polygamy. So how many gods do you have there, brother? I mean, it's total madness. Your wife?
God, you asked a key follow-up question.
Yeah.
If something,
Yeah, if something go down where you need prayer and a brother or sister needs some type of spiritual help, well, you going to take them to your wife? So usually the Bible says avoid foolish questions. If it wasn't for an opportunity to actually show our brothers and sisters exactly what they were dealing with, I would have probably hung up on those brothers 10 minutes into the conversation. Because the Bible tells us how to deal with fools. but you have to allow them to talk. And I think, and the more they talked, the more they understood that they didn't even know what they were talking about and got frustrated. Because I didn't interject. So I think he's trying to trick me. I don't understand no, I just want you to explain it. I think he's trying to trick me. Then he started getting upset. Then the guy started cursing people out. And I'm like, listen, brother, I think we need to bow out of this right now. The Bible tells us, Exodus 15:3, that the Lord is a man of war. Woman, and here's another answer. Do you know that the word woman means from man? The word itself tells you that she's second in the creation cycle. Woman means from man. So how can woman be God? What's next?
Someone says, I'm glad souls are getting saved. Praise the AHAYAH. Shalom. Someone says, Shalom, brothers. Can you explain Isaiah 19:21-25 since we're on the topic of Egypt?
Okay, I'm just going to answer these particular questions. Then I'm going to have to wish you Godspeed because Gabar is coming in next. So let's get that one first. We only got a few more left, and then we're going to wish you Godspeed.
Part of the answer in verse 11. Okay.
Excuse me. All right. All right, what's the next one here? What was the next question?
The one on Isaiah.
Okay, Isaiah 19:21-25.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says, since we are on the
Topic of Egypt.
Go ahead.
It says, and the Lord shall smite, I'll start at 21. And the Lord shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know that the Lord, or shall know the Lord in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation. Yea, they shall vow a vow unto the Lord, and perform it. And the Lord shall smite Egypt. He shall smite and heal it, and they shall return even to the Lord, and he shall be entreated of them, and shall heal them. And that day there shall be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptian shall serve with the Assyrians. And that day shall Israel be third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land, whom the Lord of hosts shall bless. Blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hand, and Israel, mine inheritance.
Good question. The reason why it's preferenced like this in the book of Isaiah is because Israel have a portion of these lands that's actually a part of the promised land. There's a part of Syria and a part of Egypt that actually belong to Israel. So when you look at the map of Israel today, that's not the true map, a map according to line concerning the borders of Israel. Israel borders all the way into a part of Egypt, all the way into a part of Syria, and it's really part of the land promised to Abraham. So when you look at Abraham's prophecies of the land that was promised to him, it's actually those parts that is mentioned in Isaiah. So that landmass, when Christ returned, will be Israel. Okay? What you got there?
Quick, Isaiah 11:11.
Yes.
It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people.
The remnant of who?
His people.
So it's his people out of these lands.
Which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt.
See? So it's his people within those lands. So when it's talking about Egyptians, my people, it's not speaking of Hamites. It's speaking of Israelites. Okay? What's next?
How much time do we have left?
How much time do we have left? Not much time. Let me get my brown bag real quick. This is a quick one I can do. In that bag, there's a pen. Thank you. Not much time. All right. Hold up, let me get this. Pass me that eraser here. Do this real quick for you. One moment. How much time we have left? Okay. Read that real quick.
Second Ezra, chapter 14, verse 12.
Read it.
It says, I'll start at 11 or 10. For the world have lost its youth,
For the world have lost its youth,
and the times begin to wax old.
and the times begin to wax old. That means the earth is old.
For the world is divided into 12 parts.
When it says the world, it's speaking of time before judgment. It says the world is divided into what?
12 parts.
12 parts, starting from Adam, from creation, over here. The beginning of creation, there was a time stamp before judgment. It's broken into 12 parts before the judgment, right? Or the kingdom, which is the 12th part. So time, which is the world, is broken into what?
12 parts.
12 parts. So this is how we look at time here. Each part is a 1,000-year increment from the beginning. Read.
And the 10 parts of it are gone already.
When it says a 10th part of it is gone already, it was speaking of the time of who? The time of Esdras, who's speaking here. Esdras is speaking right there. And the time that Esdras was speaking here was around 550 BC. 550 BC. So that's when the Most High was given Esdras this revelation, 550 BC. A 10th part in a what?
And the 10 parts are gone already, and half of a 10th part.
And half of a 10th part. So they're showing that Most High is speaking to Esdras around 500 years from the coming of Christ right here. He's speaking in the middle of the 10th part because half of the 10th was gone already. So that's 500 years from Esdras to Christ, given a timeline. And from Christ, you'll have what? 2,000 years, 2 more parts. See that? Okay, no, that's good. That's a little bit more complex. I'm just making it simple right here. You got a half a part, which is 500 years before Christ. That's when the Most High was speaking to Ezra and showing him how much time we have left. And then you got 2 more parts, which is 1,000 years each. Okay? So at the end of those 2 parts, you have what? Let's go to Hosea 6.
It's there. Hosea 6 and 2.
Yes.
After 2 days will he revive us.
That 2 days is 2,000 years, or 2 parts from the time Christ was born. In 2,000 years, he will revive us. So at the end of the 2,000 years, we would begin to get back our understanding first. That's us being revived and coming back to the knowledge, our foreparents, that we lost through the sins of our foreparents. So we're in that time of reviving now as a people. It's like Israel is being resuscitated to realize that they're Israel now. So that 2,000 years begins that what? Reviving. Read.
In the 3rd day will he raise us up.
And in the 3rd day, in the 3,000th year, that means no sooner that 2,000 years, when we're in that 2,000 years, that will be the beginning of what? The 3rd day. We're being risen up as we speak. Read.
In the 3rd day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
So no sooner that 2,000 years stamp happened, we began the 3rd day and living in his sight. How long? The Bible says this gospel of the kingdom must be taught throughout the 4 corners of the earth, then the end shall come. We're at the end. We are at the very tail end of this. It's only a few things that have to happen. The first thing is the war against Iran. The war against Iran will begin the end of the place we call America, which is the horn that came out of the Roman Empire. After she's destroyed, we only have a short space after that before Christ returns. So what we're looking for in general to understand prophecy and how much time we actually have left is the war in Iran. After the war in Iran and the prophecies concerning what happens after that is the total destruction of America, where there's no people left, man or beast. That will be the end of our captivity and the beginning of Israel as a nation. All right. I'll go over this timestamp because I promised to do that within the academy anyway, but I actually forgot to do it. So I'll just go into that in more detail tomorrow in the academy. All right, what's next?
Someone says, could you please explain anointment? Is it to be done every Sabbath, before fasting, any other times? Could you please reference scriptures? Thank you.
Well, there's different types of anointments, like the anointment that happened with the priest, where the oil ran down Aaron's beard. Okay. You have after fasting, when it says anoint yourself, it's actually speaking of oiling yourself and keeping yourself clean. There's anointments that you can have for your family, just to pray over your family. There's church anointments in which we can all have a little oil and anoint for blessings. Chapter and verse, read.
James 5:13 through 14.
Yes.
Is any among you afflicted?
Is any among you afflicted?
Let him pray.
Get a vaccine.
Let him pray.
Let him pray.
Is any married? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you?
Is any sick among you?
Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him.
Let him call for the elders of the church and get prayer. Read.
Anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord.
Exactly. So there's no schedule on when you should anoint and certain, appointed times to anoint. Okay. When there's sicknesses, you can anoint. Or when the Spirit tells us, okay, we need an anointment for the church and for the people, then we anoint them when they're sick or together, or it can be a random thing where we finish class and some people say, I would like an anointment and a prayer, and they'll get it randomly. It's not no certain schedule for anointments because, you can't You don't know when someone is going to be sick. So anointment is for prayer and healing and understanding. Okay? Hope that answers your question. What's next?
Someone says, how can I find the broadcast for Wednesday?
Oh, go to Blog Talk Radio and type in Gathering of Christ Church. It should come up. And we'll be back this coming Wednesday also. And you probably have a follow-up and have Elder Gabar let us know what happened. And I'm sure eventually the broadcast beyond the debate. I know a lot of people want to be there at the debate. And there's a telecast and a webcast or whatever the case is. But after that, I'm sure there'll be ways in which we can view it, analyze it, and break it down. But go ahead.
Someone says, the water, Elder Ricard and Elder Lawyer, great lesson. You were great on Wednesday. There was nothing you did wrong. Know that we are behind you 100%. You are led by the Most High. Stay encouraged. Shalom.
Oh, all praise be to the Most High. And I'll tell you this. There was nothing we could do wrong in that situation because we just let them talk. Before the thing came on, before the broadcast come on, I spoke to God. I'm like, brother, our best offense in this whole thing, as far as being able to be effective, is to allow these people to just talk. That'll be enough for people to know not to deal with them if they just hear them ramble on without interruption for a long span of time. So our whole thing was to get out of their way and not make it into an argument and have them, do what they do. Okay? Because if you in an argument with them, then the argument and these other sub-conversations divert us from the key point that we're looking to prove, that we're looking to, to bring forward to the listeners. So if the listeners are not diverted, they can see that these guys really don't know what they're talking about. So it was key to allow them to talk. All right, what's next here?
Someone says, if BC means before Christ and AD means after his death.
No, AD don't mean after his death. It means Amni Domini. That's counting up to the days of our Lord and Savior.
So it says, and AD means after his death. What happened to the years of his life?
Well, what you have a combination is you don't have after death. What you have is BC, which is before Christ. And once Christ was born, then there will be a countdown until his kingdom, which is Amni Domini. Okay? It don't have anything to do with his death. It's not after death. Okay?
Someone says, Kemet is foolishness like Islam. Great lesson.
Yeah. And I noticed that a lot of Muslims are in agreement with Kemetic teachings because they both agree not to deal with the Bible and acknowledge the true God of the Hebrews. But they're doing that at their own peril. It's a shame that they can't take part in such rich history. What's next?
Someone says, I have learned from you, brothers, that the Romans are masters of hiding themselves.
Yeah.
Could it be that they are hiding themselves with respect to themselves among UN troops in the future?
I don't know if they're hiding themselves amongst UN troops. I think that what they're hiding themselves based on their nation and their true intentions. The fact that there's an agenda that was placed on this earth from their father Esau. The agenda was to eradicate Israel. So I think that that's the agenda. They hide in themselves because, according to the Bible, their agenda is against God's people. Their agenda is against the God of the Hebrews. So they must hide themselves in order to gain participation from us, in building their construct. If they told us that, well, my father had a plan to kill you all off, I don't think we would participate in building their empire. Okay, so they hide themselves knowing what the Bible says concerning their judgment. As far as the UN thing and all that, I really don't know. But I do know the Masons' agenda is one and the same with what Esau said he would do to us in the book of Genesis. That once our father Isaac passed, that they would look to terminate us or to kill, eradicate, and destroy Jacob. And that plan is still in place. And it's what the Bible calls today Jacob's trouble. With that, stay tuned. We have Elder Gabar coming on with the lesson, and I apologize. We're going to try to keep this on point going forward. I apologize about the streaming issues, but we fought through it in the spirit of the Most High and was able to bring forth some information nonetheless. The rest that was left out that I wanted to go into, we'll pick up next Sabbath. Well, not next Sabbath, the following Sabbath after that. We're not going to be on this coming Sabbath, but the following Sabbath. All right? With that, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom.
Yeah, I just wanted to put out there real quick just to make a video touching on some of the things I've said earlier about the Jordan situation. I just want everyone to know that there is no church from the Gathered of Christ church. There is no scenario in which we are operating in the area of Jordan. Okay? Make sure that if anyone contact you from there or try to reach out to you from there, keep in mind you do that at your own risk. We have nothing to do with those people that are over there. As far as the sister that are using our name to heap souls to herself, saying she's with the Gathering of Christ Church. And I'm putting it out there, just be warned, okay? There's a lot of things going on with that, and I'm just warning you again because a lot of our people are falling victim to this, all right? So again, if y'all do know, or if someone did reach out to you about that and say that they're the Gathering of Christ Church, do us a favor and send us an email and let us know exactly what's going on. But again, we don't have a church in Jordan, and we're not affiliated with anyone that go there or who's a part of that. All right? With that, I'm going to say shalom.